Okay, sorry for the delay, guys. I'll just get it. Welcome to the Forbidden History Chronicles, first of all. You're here with NinjaCat 111 and Desert-Owl from the Forbidden History series YouTube channel, and also currently broadcasting from Forbidden History Live. Um, Links are in the description. Please subscribe. Firstly, I'd like to get an audio check. I haven't turned on Desert's microphone yet. I'll read the introduction first. Um, and g'day, Lynn. How's it going? Love you. G'day, Yo Engineer. Yo Engineer. I never know which one to say, but love you. And we'll get on with it. Okay. The signs of the times. In essence, Desert discusses the history of the world and how the unseen hand has been running it from the very beginning of time, who they are and how they have founded all of the first great civilizations that are found all around the world, about who the giants really were, and the ancient Aryan caste and slave systems, the priesthoods, the anti-gravity V-manners, earth-based misnomered UFOs, which are man-made, the control of all forms of communications, commerce, religion, mass media, pseudo-politics, etc. It is a grand deception that is used to control all of mankind, and all instituted through the three main religions of the world in particular, used as their grand cover. Their cybercode has been revealed to him because he has become adept within the study of the ancient alphabets, communications, symbolism, religion, custom, law, cosmology, and mythology, not to mention the fallacy of today's political science and pseudoscience in particular. He can also define the true nature of their warfare, their shell game of bringing one civilization up for their temporary use and then taking it down for the next 500-year generational cycle, as symbolized by the classical phoenix. Desert discusses the ultimate in mind control and ancient art, and the financial control, the secret societies and their blood occult rituals, and how they wage all wars throughout all time, through the nations that they have created, which are all imaginations, plantations, and mere corporations. They have taken blood oaths to... Sorry, I just lost my place. They have taken blood oaths to surrender their self-will and mind to their blind goddess, who has demanded our blood from the very beginning of time. They communicate to their minions through the movies, TV, and print media, while he can see, read, and interpret most all of it. It all says that they are using us for our ingenuity, for our collective constructive labour, for experimentation, and in the end, they intend to kill us all. They have given us full notice of what they are doing, and what they fully intend to do, while all of the general population, the sheeple, they merely go there to be entertained. Excuse me. The New World Order is the Old World Order from the beginning of time. There is a major cosmic natural disaster that is about to happen on Earth, and they know it, but they are cleverly leaving us in the dark. Hence the reason that they have built hundreds of underground bases all around the world, while they are leaving all of the people to remain unprepared, uninformed, and above ground, so that when it comes, the mere 5% who will survive above ground will die from the weaknesses and disease that has been generated from all of the poisons that they have been feeding us, from the chemtrails to fluoride in the water, to tainted vaccines, to fake food, etc., etc. They have enslaved us all by the clever means of deception, because we, most all, are their cattle, chattel, property, and because they merely wanted to harness our labour, what they always needed, which is what backs most of the world's currency through the birth certificate, but they are all through with us now. Oh, excuse me. It is written in stone, as it can be seen written in the Georgia Guidestones. To know the truth is to be empowered and to be prepared. We may not be able to stop what has been done and what is about to happen, but the innocent and decent people on planet Earth deserve to know. And that was written by Dezert-Owl, who I'd like to welcome to the program. How's it going, Desert? And we'll get a sound check as well. How's
Hey,
it going?
Ninja, good to be with you. Thank you.
Good, I'm glad.
I'm thinking your notices aren't getting out because certainly there would be one or two others here that wanted to be on the program.
Yeah.
And And
Yeah.
the three are the engineers that are here. So something is not
Yeah.
normal. I don't know what to say, but anyway, we're good. We're good for the
I know,
program,
like
and we're gonna.
I set it up to give notice out for like an hour beforehand
Yeah,
because
well,
I
you
set
should
it
do
up.
it. You should do it like 12 hours
Yeah, I
before,
know.
or
I
as
know.
much as possible to give people plenty of notice, and then you'll get maybe a confirmation that someone wants to, they'll hit you up and let you know that they got the notice. So that's still short notice, to
Yeah, I
help
know.
people.
I know.
All right,
Um,
we'll get it down. That's right.
I
We'll get
just
it
have to
down.
get used to doing it. I didn't even think of
Yeah.
it until
Okay.
tonight, and
Yeah. Shelley got the
yeah,
notification. Okay, but it's an
it's
hour. It's only an hour notice.
it's been a rough
So,
day, Desert. It's been a very
uh,
rough day.
okay,
Um,
it's a rough planet.
it's a rough planet. Yes,
That's right.
it's a rough death on this planet. Yeah.
It's
Um,
rough dealing with the firstborn. And okay, give out. I got to do my air conditioner. I got to turn it on. So just keep talking for a minute. Give me 30 seconds. All right.
okay, I'll
Thank
do
you.
my best. Um, yeah. Okay. I don't know where to start. Okay, we'll go with the channels. There's we have four channels going at the moment, and also Desert's uh, other original channel, the Forbidden History series. That's five. No, that's yeah, that's five. um, there's a new channel. I'll just put it up on the screen for our Fenton Bible Daily Read. Um, that's where Desert reads the Fenton Bible and transliterates as he goes in original thought. So check it out. Please subscribe and check the bell. It's beautiful hearing it being read that way. And also uh, the Cosmic Essence is my second channel. It's new. There's only a couple of uploads over there at the moment. We're going to slowly build it up for a quick reference channel, so that if you're looking for a particular subject, if you're looking for something on symbols, if you're looking for the meaning of a letter of the alphabet,
Yeah.
um,
Search by topic.
yeah, search
Search
by
by.
topic. That's a good way to put it.
Mhm.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Desert. Yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
easy to find what you're looking for over there. So that's going to slowly build up as well. Okay, so Desert, you good to go?
Let me think about it. Yeah. Okay. I guess I'm good to go.
Okay, good.
I'm stymied at well, what we had problems yesterday on the internet, and it seems that just like Zealot, he said he didn't get wasn't getting notices. So different
Yeah,
people
yeah,
on each different end, have a challenge going on. So we never know what's going on.
yeah,
It's probably going to get worse. Over time. The words. We see the state of the art, and things are supposed to improve, but then we just actually start seeing things get worse, and you wonder why that happens. And it's of course by design. They
yeah.
they design things that way.
I don't get notified for Forbidden History Live. That's why. Um,
Oh,
yeah, that's why I've been asking you. Please Skype me, not just because I'm
yeah.
sleeping when
So
you're
there you
awake,
go.
but
That's a perfect example. You see,
it comes up on my
and
home
and
page, but that's it. I
yeah,
don't get notified for it. So
sure. And so
excuse me
you can
while I
imagine.
cough. I apologise.
All right. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. The point I was going to make was
Notifications.
well, yeah. But let me think here. I forgot. It went quick as it came in and went out.
I can
So
relate to that.
yeah. Well, that's the aluminum. That's the aluminum working with the barium, and so yeah, we've got to make it. It's tough. I don't know if we could do a. Do you think we can do a screen share? I was going to show a headline from our weather channel.
I
If I
don't
could,
know
you want to try? Should we try?
how.
I know how to do it. I'm going to show you my screen. All right. I'm going to show you my screen. So let's try this. Because if we can do this, then we got one more feature, that we can do. So
Yeah. I
let me
don't
set it
know
up.
how I'm going to get it on the live stream though, does it?
Oh, that's right. I didn't think about that. Okay,
I'll be
never
able to
mind.
see it in Skype, but I don't know how to get it
You know,
onto.
well, it would be on your desktop. You don't know how to do
Oh,
a
yeah.
desktop?
I know
You
how to
can do
do the
that?
desktop.
All right, so let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot here,
Okay.
okay? And this is a test. This is only a test of the emergency broadcast system. So here we go.
Okay.
Start sharing. Boom. Okay, I'm sharing. Now you're looking at my screen. You see it?
No, I see all no.
Well, you
Um,
have to open up your Skype and you have to go full screen with your Skype window. And then you're not looking at my desktop right now on Skype?
just hang on. My computer's a bit slow. Something's happening.
All right. This will be great if it works. And we got one more thing we learn how to do here.
Oh wow.
You see it? You see it?
Yes.
Okay. Now take your OBS and switch it to desktop.
Okay. This
Right.
is nuts. Wow.
No,
Um,
they're nuts. We're just crackers.
sorry. I really needed the giggle. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow, this is so cool. This is so cool. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Okay.
can't see the chat, by the way, guys. Oh, yes, I can, because I've got it on my phone.
Well, right. But the main thing is put it to desktop.
Yeah, I'm getting.
And let's see if, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Because if we can do this, then I know I can start drawing with my drawing kit. I still got to
Oh,
figure out how to do it,
okay.
but if we can share,
Just give me
screen
one
share this.
second.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that I've got no extra sound.
There it is, coming up. Desktop coming up next. I see it.
And the
I see
sound's
it.
okay? There's no weird echo or anything extra
Oh,
coming
no, I'm
from.
just listening to the headset. There's no other
Okay.
sound. Yeah, it's
What am
strictly
I
a
doing?
visual thing.
Okay. I'm going
All
back
right,
to
come on.
Skype. I know what I'm doing.
You
It's
can't
alright.
remember where the
Yeah.
magic button is.
Yeah.
Oh no, the $50 button.
Okay. So,
Desktop.
yeah. Yeah. You'll see it in a second.
All right, you're confident?
Yeah, I don't have to touch anything now because you're doing it.
I'm not doing anything. You're doing it. I shared the screen, but you got to pull up your desktop. Your Skype. You got to open up your Skype. Full window. You're looking at that website that I gave you on my desktop.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it, right? You're
There's a
lost.
delay.
Oh, the delay?
Yeah. Because I've
Okay.
done.
The delay is only 5 seconds. This isn't
Well, I'm on the.
this has been 30 seconds already.
I didn't hit the button properly. I thought I clicked
Yeah,
on it.
we're not on your desktop.
We should be.
Or you didn't open it. Okay, what you got to do is after you click on it, then you got to open up the screen of the of Skype. In other words, you see, I'm looking at your desktop, but it's not Skype because you didn't open up your Skype. So you've got to open up the window of Skype once you click the feature, and then we can see the Skype screen share looking at my computer. So
Yeah.
that's the one thing you didn't do, I think.
I'm on the desktop now. Just wait for
Okay,
the delay again. I'm on the
and
desktop
then
now and I've got the screen share. Like I've got Skype on the screen.
okay.
Yeah. Is it doing anything?
Well, it doesn't look like it. What we're looking at is what you have on your desktop. You didn't open up Skype. Is Skype opened up full blow? Did
Skype
you
is
go full
opened up.
screen?
Yeah.
And you're looking at the website about the weather, right? You're looking at the website about the weather?
No.
No, well then that's why we're not
There
looking
we
at
go.
it because you got. All right, all right. There you go.
Oh, there is a delay because I just went back to check.
There you go. Now you're doing it. Okay, now you're doing it. There, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. No, it just disappeared. Now you had it.
Yeah, it'll
No, it
come
just
back in a
disappeared.
second. It should.
One.
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. Now, why is it smaller?
I don't
Okay,
know.
I'm gonna go. Why do you just
I
left
don't
it again?
know. I'm not touching anything right now. That's how long the delay is.
Oh, it keeps getting smaller. It keeps getting smaller. You've got to go full screen with it.
I don't know
Geez, this
why
thing.
it's not doing. I don't, because I've got the desktop on. It should be just showing
Yeah, there's
Skype.
one thing I think that has to be shut off because it's showing multi dimensions.
Yeah,
Like the
yeah,
mirror going into infinity,
yeah. It
and
shouldn't be
there's
doing that
something.
though, because
Yeah,
all I'm showing is the desktop like normal, like when I show stuff on like online on websites and stuff.
but there's something you got to minimize. You got to minimize everything and just keep the screen my that website open. Okay. All right, we can do
Okay,
this another time.
so if
I don't.
I'm really,
Well,
so
obviously we don't want to
if
delay
I
the program
minimize
for
this,
engineering. It was a test. I thought we could do it. All
I
right.
don't know. It might just keep doing the multi-dimensional thingy. I don't know. We'll try it
Yeah, we'll do
outside
it another
of the.
time. We'll
Yeah.
work, we'll work on it on the side, right? And
Okay.
maybe Yo Engineer can help us figure it out too.
Oh,
What?
my phone. I've got the live stream going on my phone, so I can play around in the chat with the emojis, and
All right. Okay,
that
let's.
just
I'm going to stop the screen share now. Okay, is that right? Am I
yeah,
done?
that's all right. I've gone back
Okay,
to my
stop sharing.
screen. I'm just going to look for
All
some
right.
graphics to put up.
It
That's
had been.
all.
It was over a year ago when I did this, and I can't remember how to do it now. It was like a year and a half ago or 2 years
Yeah,
ago,
yeah. Well,
and then
we got
my
halfway
computer got
there.
hacked.
Yeah,
Huh?
we got halfway to it.
We were
Halfway.
almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got close.
Yeah. Please
Okay.
continue. Please continue.
Yeah. Um, all right. So what the point was that Lake Michigan dropped by 20 degrees overnight, and that's
Yeah.
absolutely theoretically, unequivocally, without question, impossible. Impossible. And so the only way that could have happened is if they dumped in the sky all of that ice nucleation chemical that Dane
Yeah.
Wigington
Yeah.
has shared with us. That's the
Yep.
only way an entire lake could drop by 20 degrees. It was a download.
Yep.
That's
I
it.
agree.
It's yeah. And so it's our manipulation, just like that cold front we showed yesterday coming up from
Yep.
Mexico. A cold front, and people will never question it. Don't question anything. Don't ask questions. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. So
Don't think.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah, we're so near. We're so near the end, that people just can't wrap their mind around it. They just cannot wrap their mind around it. They're thinking about their golden years of retirement, and they don't realize their world is over. And it's amazing. I'm so grateful to the Father above that He gave me eyes to see. Because that we have the hope of life, of eternal life. And with these people, they have no hope at all. They have none.
Yeah.
It's a false narrative, a false illusion.
Yeah.
Uh, or a real illusion. Maybe it wouldn't be a false illusion; it'd be a real illusion. They're living in a real illusion. That's how
Well,
they
this
messed up our
is
work.
yeah.
Okay.
This is one reality. If you
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to, yeah.
So
The
how
illusion.
did
Yeah.
yeah? So
Sorry.
when you did your post today, you did that little 30-minute butterfly
30
thing, and you notice how
minutes.
30 second,
Sorry.
30 second, right? Sorry, 30 whatever.
Yes.
Okay, and
Yep.
you were focusing on the butterfly. So when I was responding to you, immediately the word opened up to me as I know how to read, and I saw immediately that the butterfly was a cover for the word flutter.
Is
You
that why
notice
you
that?
wrote that? Is that
Yeah, it's
why?
a flutterfly.
Oh,
Flutterfly. That's
flutterfly.
what it does. It flutters through
Cause,
the air, right?
'cause you know what?
Uh,
Um, as a, I don't want to. When I was little, um,
huh?
we used to muck around and call them flutterbys. Flutterbys. So
Oh.
that was correct. That was
You
correct.
played with that word then. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
because butterfly would have been probably where people started mispronouncing it. It would have originally been flutter fly, but then somehow in
Wow.
the dialect changed, and different people in different areas of the country would pronounce things differently. You know how we pick up things and we didn't really hear what they were really saying, and then we corrupt it. We so it's probably not a part of the original thought engineering that we talk about, but it is you know
It's
um,
a corrupted word. Yeah.
yeah, it's revealing. It revealed itself for me today. It's the flutterfly,
Yeah.
because that's what
Yeah.
butterflies do. They flutter.
They flutter. Yes.
Yep. They're, yeah,
Yeah.
because they're not carrying any butter with them. I never got any
No.
butter from a flutterfly.
It made me think, uh, because Kip's video inspired me to put mine up because I filmed that the other day. I think it was last Thursday, possibly. Yeah, and I saw Kip's video on with his butterfly, and I read some of the comments and like on his video, and like it's happening everywhere. The butterflies are like approaching us, and
Uh,
the monarch butterfly being paralleling with, well, we know what that's all about with the mind control and the
uh,
symbolism. I was thinking maybe this is the good side of the duality,
hmm
to do with transformation, and how you said in your comment it's a good thing. Um, and where was I going with this? Um, oh yeah, I was thinking maybe the butterflies, because they would normally flutter away. They wouldn't deliberately come and land on our hand. Um, Maybe the butterflies can sense um, gentle spirits, gentle excuse me, gentle souls, or they can sense somebody going through a transformation. Do you think?
No.
Okay.
Sorry about that. But
Sorry.
no, you wanted an honest answer, I think, right?
I did. Thank you.
But
I
all
love
right,
your honesty.
you know, just
Yeah, I'm sorry.
you know,
Yeah.
well, I like the one in Africa. They say, that the hurricanes. There's probably some butterfly in Africa that flapped its wings. Next thing you know, a hurricane is happening in the Atlantic. The
Okay.
butterfly. I think, if anything, the butterfly may. My first initial thought was the butterfly may just be too tired to care anymore. Go ahead, kill me. You killed
Oh,
everything
the
else,
poor thing.
huh?
Yeah. Oh.
You know, there's no way of knowing they don't even have a mind.
Yeah.
But they
It
could
could,
be.
yeah, it could be
They could
confused
be.
because of all the
I
manipulation.
Right, but butterflies typically when there are a lot of them because I don't see them anymore around here.
Yeah.
But when we were
Yeah.
little,
Yeah.
they would
Yep.
land on us. They would not be totally afraid of us because they may not have a natural instinct for fear.
Okay. Okay.
And but I think the greatest drama of the like the monarch butterfly, and I still have problems wrapping my mind around it. Is they say that a butterfly from New Jersey, where we saw the monarch butterflies, would fly all the way across country and go to central Mexico and then mate and in the whole grove of where all the monarchs come, every year or something like that. And I can't figure out how in the world they can go that distance. So
They
I
don't live that long, do they? They don't live for
I
very long.
they couldn't live more than a season because you get wintertime.
Yeah.
They're not going to live wintertime. So
Yeah.
I have no idea how they can travel like 5,000 miles into central Mexico. But yet they've tracked them. They put markers on them, and it
Okay.
appears that they have tracked them to Mexico, like from Canada. I remember seeing those documentaries. So somehow, they go on a fantastic journey, and that's what the butterfly symbolizes: is the fantastic journey that we
Wow.
are all supposed to go on from being a serpent, which for the butterfly is a caterpillar, but it represents the serpent, goes into its cocoon, and then comes out a butterfly and a spiritual symbol, a spiritual creature, And yeah, so it goes on a fantastic journey, and I I don't want to put too much into what the butterfly is doing, by going on the hand, but it just in simplicity, it's not showing any fear,
Yeah.
of man.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
can't even probably process what we are when we're standing in front of it. It's beyond their scope. They're just but yet most creatures, like when you turn on the light, they all go running, because they
Yeah.
have a natural instinct of fear, and the butterfly is not exhibiting that.
Yeah,
So,
I've just never had one land on me,
yeah.
like sit there like that
Uh,
before. Never. I've
so,
been really close to one, but
yeah.
never had one on the end of my finger like that. And I couldn't even feel it. It was so light. Like I couldn't even
And
feel it sitting on there.
and
Yeah.
so the fact that they are not showing fear and they symbolize the transcendent being, well, isn't that what we're supposed to be? Like fearless, no fear, because we have transcended fear for the divine love, right? And
Wow.
therefore, perfect love casts out all fear, right?
That's a
And so
beautiful
it's,
way to look at it.
yeah, yeah. So it's representing that in its essence. There you go, the symbolism again, right? Reading it
Yes.
correctly,
Yeah.
it fits the bill,
The good side of the symbolism of the butterfly. Yes.
right? hmm
Yeah. Thank you for that.
hmm So another, so I got a few words before
Okay.
we get on dictionary of scriptures and myths. I got FEMA. I was reviewing the other program from last night, so I was taking notes, and I think it was Zealot mentioned FEMA. Is going to be coming to kill us with their hollow point bullets, Federal
Yeah. Yeah.
Emergency Management Agency. And so what's interesting is on its surface you can see that FEMA. What is FEMA an abbreviation for, Ninja?
Um, I know I've seen it.
Well, yeah, you got to write it down. Are you writing it down so you can look at it?
Okay, I'll write it
Okay,
down.
I'll put it in the chat. All right.
I know I've seen it. I can't think of it now though. Oh, okay, okay,
You see
okay,
it, right?
okay.
Right. It's
How and
FEMA
why does it? Wow, wow.
because they follow the goddess, right? They're
Oh
not.
yeah,
They
yeah,
don't want the father. That's why in
yeah.
Freemasonry, what do they call the Freemasons? Um, the widow's sons. And that's what Joseph Smith, before they threw him out the second story window, said: is there no aid or something like, is there no love? There's a certain slogan they have: is there no help? I think it's, is there no help for the widow's son? You see, that's what they call themselves, widow's son. Why? Because they killed the father. She's a mother without a father, a husband, because they killed Yahweh. They killed the light. The light is the father in the primordial sense, and and so therefore they're serving the Luciferian occultic moon, the blind goddess, the one that gives no light. She looks good in the night, all dressed up with light, but it's the light of the sun reflecting on her. So they're serving the woman, and she's a whore, and they call her Lucifer, but it's their true cipher. That's their code, their dress code, their military code, their word code. All of those things are in this cult. So they're naming the organization that's going to come and kill all Americans with their hollow point bullets, 6 billion rounds. Um, you know, um, FEMA, female. That's female.
Yeah.
Federal
Does it
Emergency
even matter what those letters stand for? Like FEMA?
Federal
Like
Emergency Management Agency.
that's what it is. That what it is? Yeah. Well, that
Yeah,
doesn't matter anyway.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Homeland, and they work in conjunction with Homeland Insecurity. And so let's look at it. So when Hurricane Katrina, I think it was, hit New Orleans about 15 years ago or whenever
Yeah.
that was, 10 years ago, did FEMA come? Did the military come? Did they rescue those people? No, they
No,
were
they were
left on
just
their
yeah.
own. But they only did one thing. The military came and took everybody's guns. That's all they did.
Oh, that was
They took
nice of them.
everybody's guns. Yeah.
Yeah.
They rounded up people that were protecting their homes, just keeping guard, and they put handcuffs on all the people, and then confiscated all their weapons. So they didn't bring food or relief. They just brought slavery. That's all they brought. And so FEMA is female, and that's the occultic, not the virgin, but the whore. So, ladies, if you put on the light of Yeshua, you're not to be included in this odyssey here. But FEMA is for the dark Luciferian whore, okay? Because that's what she is. She's a whore, and wants to drink blood, everybody's blood. Um, I was hoping Zealot would be here today because I actually defined his. I saw something interesting in and out of his title, Zealot. So I'll save that for when he's on the program. Then
I'm
it,
intrigued.
Yeah, well, you
Yeah.
just have to stand by for the broadcast. And
Yes, I will.
so,
Yeah.
all right, a shavor is word, and literally, so a shavor is like three words: a, sha, and vor, three words, and it
Yeah.
means literally the royal eye at the center. So at the center of everything is the communication device. Without the communication device, we cannot define anything. So that's why it's the vor. The vor is the vortex, the Asia vor, and that's where they got the word from. Vor, as word. You see, they corrupted it into
Wow.
vor, and so it was an abbreviated word, but it wasn't just abbreviated. It was corrupted. Vor is WORD, but the D is death, so they put the symbol of death on the word, and but then they took out the first part, the prefix, which is the Aisha, the royal eye at the center. The royal eye at the center is Yeshua. In that metaphor, the royal eye at the center is Yeshua. And so I should write that down on my card because he is the royal eye. He's the one who sees all things, the active agent for Yahweh. Okay, so all righty. I guess I stepped on too many flat earthers' toes last night. That's why we don't have any listeners anymore.
Like I'm subscribed to Flat Earth channels because they speak a lot of truth.
Yeah,
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 it doesn't bother me what people think
yeah,
of, like, whether the planet's round or flat or pear-shaped or whatever. We're
y-
all trying to figure out the truth.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the important thing is, see, what they can't do is they can't define it with the scriptures, because the scriptures
Yeah.
clearly talk about a solar
Yeah.
center. Who's at the center of everything? The sun. The
Yeah.
sun, SUN,
Yeah.
SON, is at
Yeah.
the center,
Yeah.
and everything came out of the
I
light.
can see that it's a globe, but yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
came out of the light. Hey,
Yeah.
Linda, good to have you on the broadcast.
G'day,
And
Linda. I'm round.
so yeah,
Linda's
so
round. Yeah.
yeah, she's around. She's come
Yeah.
around. Right. If you're not here, you're square. Okay. And, so anyway, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do we have any more words left? No, that's it. Okay, that's it on the words. So we're going to get into the dictionary of all scriptures and myths. And what did I have? I had a special reading. Oh, here it is. Okay, on the betrayal of Yeshua. And I'm going to have to hold this page down with something. And we do take calls, by the way. You can call in on the cell phone here, and we can put it up to the mic, and that is a 608. Actually, I could put it up to my Logitech webcam, and I don't have to put it up to my
Yeah.
face either. We can do that temporarily while we do a phone call. So if you wanted to call in, 608 566 7295. 608 566 7295. Okay.
Desert, do you mind continuing for a second while I go and let one of the cats
Uh,
in?
sure.
Because it's
Can
cold
do that.
outside and it's raining.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'll be
Right.
back
And
in one sec. If
uh,
I don't know, if I mute my microphone, will they still be able to hear you? That's the thing. I won't mute it.
well, leave it
I'll
open
just,
then. Leave it open.
yeah. I'll
Okay.
be back in a
One. Are
second.
you back yet? Are you back?
No.
You said one. Oh,
I'll be back
all
in
right.
a second.
Keep talking. Okay.
Keep talking.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned in right here to NinjaCat 111, and we're trying. When we're not trying, we're having a revolution in thinking. There is no try. Yoda said, "There's no try. There's only do or don't do." And we're going to be doing a read from the dictionary on all scriptures and myths. Okay, and so if you don't have a copy of the book, you really it's a must acquire, because it defines everything in our scriptures in the most profound way. There's definitions on everything. Like this one is called the betrayal of Jesus. Okay, who we correctly call Yeshua, but the betrayal of Jesus is one definition. But in here you could define the word church or bread, breaking bread. All of the different aspects in our scriptures are in here, along with many other cultural definitions of their other ancient scriptures, which shows a harmony and a parallel to our scriptures as well, because many of the other ancient traditions were speaking the truth about creation in particular, and about the way the metaphysics of our universe operated. Okay. Okay. So So you're back?
I'm back. G'day.
Is this the real NinjaCat or the other one? Which cat is it?
We're both here.
You're both there. Okay. You're beside yourself. All right. The betrayal of Yeshua, a symbol of the voluntary falling away from the Moeshiach soul, from the Christ soul, of the lower element at the last, thus initiating the crossing over. Okay, and straightway Yudash came to Yeshua and said, "All rise for the royal star," and kissed him. And Yeshua said unto him, "Friend, do that for which you are come." And Yeshua said unto him, "Friend, do that for which you are come." Matthew, when he does his quotes from the scriptures in here, he's got a translation that I'm not familiar with, and it's always very interesting. I wish I knew what translation he was using for scriptures here. But that's the funniest part, is there's some translations that came out of, in Europe in the 1600s, 1500s, 1800s, and they're the only people who have them are the wealthy, and they're in the castles, but we're not privy to them. But there's some very more pure
Yeah.
versions of our scriptures that were done, and then we've been denied access to them. Is what's going on. That's why Fenton, of course, is so important in Lamsa as well. So Judas stands as the lowest or least raised quality in the not yet perfected Moeshiach Shul, or Christ's soul. Consequently, that is the quality which requires the soul to go through the anguish at the final crossing over from the lower to the higher state. The exercise of choice of action is the means whereby evolution is accomplished. Choice has previously been offered to the quality, quote, Judas, when having fallen away, he approaches to do that for which he has come. Judas, by getting his selfish gratification, money, forfeits his claim to the Moeshiach state, whom he betrays with a kiss. That is, he retains the semblance of affection without the reality. The greatest problem of existence is our perfection. The perfection that is of our free judgment, of our knowing, the schooling of our choice or consent as powers, so that we may be fully established in harmony with Yahweh's will and character, unified with him in his will, glorified with him in the illumination of his character, and so perfected with him in his eternal beatitude. The character or powers are creatures who act not by causality but by consent. They must therefore be set in conditions that invite consent. H. Bushnell, Nature, and so on. In the lower stages of man's religious life, we find this competition between different kinds of the good, between the sensuous valuables to which the will is compelled by appetite, passion, and desire, and the spiritual values which religion, in its higher stages of the activity of intellect and imagination, presents as rivals to the sensuous, and the man is called to choose between the two. The choice is which seems to religion as a choice between the flesh and the spirit, or between the world and the great dole of Haim, or between earthly favor and the divine approval, or finally between a widening ethical separation from the source of all, or it says moral here, that might be correct here, a widening moral aberration from the source, a capital S, of all spiritual life, and its voluntary acceptance of the indwelling and welcome source of the soul's true and highest life. That's G.T. Laud, Philosophy of Religion. And so that's that definition right there. I've been meaning to get to that for a few days, so I got it out. Okay, and so
Thank you. I'm glad you got it out on this program.
absolutely. So Ninja, just why don't we go to a break, okay, and then we'll
Okay.
take an extended break here, and then when we come back, we'll pick it up with the forbidden history of America, and and then after that, we'll do symbols, and then we'll go fall into the New Testament light with George Lamb. So Old Testament light, New Testament light. Okay.
Okay. Can't wait. And I apologize. I accidentally switched on some music when I changed a graphic just then. Um,
Don't put on the mask of Apollo. You can't get away with that. All right.
okay. We'll have a quick break. Hope you guys enjoy this. On yeah, on trying out something new. Okay. We'll be back soon. Please hang around. It only gets more amazing, and you won't hear this anywhere else except for on Forbidden History Live and our other channels. Okay. We'll be back. Okay, welcome back to the Forbidden History Chronicles. You're here with NinjaCat 111 and Desert-Owl from the Forbidden History series YouTube channel, and currently broadcasting from Forbidden History Live. Excuse me, my throat isn't that great tonight. Excuse me. Welcome back, Desert.
Thank you, Ninja.
No worries.
Yeah, and that's picture of the owl and the cat. I saw that about a decade ago. That was such a cute,
That is cute.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, friendship between these two creatures, and yeah, that's beautiful. Shows it's amazing people can't get along, but even different species of
Yeah.
animals can just have the greatest fun with each other in all their differences, right?
Yeah.
And not hurt each other. Yeah, it's just what we can learn from animals. Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so we're in the Forbidden History, and want to welcome any new listeners that are out there. We know new people are coming into the broadcast all the time, and so we're we've been doing a read periodically through the Forbidden History of America by the Informer. He's passed away now. This is from 2003, just before he passed away, and so he was a great researcher and a student of law, and so let's continue on here. We're in chapter 14. The courts of natural law are the way to go, because we know that we've been the what they call law courts are all fraudulent, and there is no law. They operate under public policy and commerce. It's a merchant's game that they play on us. So here we go. So nothing is new under the sun by Lysander Spooner. Um, let me try this again. Nothing is new under the sun, and Lysander Spooner and Albert Nock tried long before they died to show people, but people didn't care, as evidenced where we are today. I point out what Lysander Spooner said in his essay on the trial by jury to clarify just why people that want to live under natural law and be self-governing people, while others, the 75%, would rather live under a king, president, or governor, or we should include tyranny. Their statutes defy a logical man's conclusion of the statutes unless he knows the definition of each word given to it by the vermin lawmakers. The next statute enacted may be the same words but carry a different meaning because they changed the definition of the word to suit a new extortion statute, Spooner said. Natural law so far from being uncertain when compared. Do you have a still shot, Ninja? Because all that moving stuff, it just I
Okay.
keep losing my focus.
Okay. I'll
Natural
just find
law
something.
natural law so far from being uncertain when compared with statutory and constitutional law is the only thing that gives certainty at all to a very large portion of our statutory and constitutional law. The reason is this: the words in which statutes and constitutions are written are susceptible of so many different meaning meanings susceptible, widely different from, often directly opposite to each other in their bearing upon men's rights, that unless there were some rules of interpretation for determining which of these various and opposite meanings are true ones, there could be no certainty at all as to the meanings of the statutes and constitutions themselves. You know, the Constitution is the biggest con on the planet. Everybody always talks about whenever there's a revolution, yeah, we're going to get another Constitution, and that's just another con. That's the code word for international Freemasonry, the protectors and defenders of the democracy, the demon creation, Demokritos, demon creation, and they're the demons. Okay, they are the demons. Um, and so judges could make almost anything they should please out of them. Hence the necessity of rule of interpretation. And this rule is that the language of the statutes and constitutions shall be construed as nearly as possible consistently with natural law. The rule assumes what is true, that natural law is a thing certain in itself, also that it is capable of being learned. It assumes, furthermore, that it actually is comprehended by the legislators and judges who make and interpret the written law of necessity. Therefore, it assumes further that the legislators and judges, are incompetent to make and interpret the written law unless they previously understand that the law of natural law applicable to the same subject. It also assumes that the people must understand the natural law before they can understand the written law. Though the words contain the law, the words themselves are not the law. Where were the words themselves the law, were the words themselves the law, each single written law would be liable to embrace many different laws, to wit, as many different laws as there were different senses and different combinations of senses in which each and all the words were capable of being taken. This reminds me of what I learned when we studied about the judges and the phony system, and they all the people are going to be judges. They go to a judges school up in Reno, Nevada. So it's the gambling state, right? They go to Reno, Nevada. They can party while they're going to school, but what they're taught in the school is that if you're not sure on how to rule on a certain issue, then just rule any way you want. That's
Wow.
why we have the appeal. That's why we have the appeals court, right? So just take a guess. Pull a rabbit out of a hat. It don't matter, because that's why there's an appeals court. But it just shows that there is no. In other words, so for throw out then the maximum of law that someone is innocent of any implications until proven guilty. But here, apparently, then that's not the case. But you can't have a natural law sense, even as the informer is implying here that they should have when they're dealing with a conspiracy to commit fraud on the American public. In other words, when they're all given the judges in 1933, when we went under the bankruptcy, were all given silent judicial notice that we went under a new system of law, which was then again from common law to Roman civil law, and so they now could no longer go back into any forms of natural law or common law, and now we're setting a new standard under codes, rules, and regulations in America. And therefore, even though you could bring in all this evidence from past cases, court cases, the judge will nod his head and agree with you. But in the end, they cannot include it in the new system. Anything prior to the new system, when of course the original maxim is that which is first, the superior. They are not allowed to see. They are blind to anything that predated the bankruptcy, the official bankruptcy of the United States of America. So it was a total shell game. And so take, for example, the Constitution of the United States. By adopting one or another sense of the single word free, the whole instrument is changed. Yet the word free is capable of some 10 or 20 different senses, so that by changing the sense of the single word, some 10 or 20 different constitutions could be made out of the same written instrument. But there are, we will suppose, 1,000 other words to the Constitution, each of which is capable of from 2 or 10 different senses. So that by changing the sense of a single word at a time, several thousands of constitutions would be made. Whether therefore written laws correspond with or differ from the natural, they are to be condemned. In the first case, they are useless repetitions introducing labor and obscurity. In the latter case, they are positive violations of men's rights. Now, how you may have read the story about Hitler that went something like this: that I didn't care that they came after the bankers because I wasn't a banker. I didn't care when they came after the accountant, for I was not an accountant, and so on and so on. And then I remained silent and consented to his demise under the maxim, are you any different? Of course not, because you allowed others to do the research while you played in the fraud without ever realizing it. Granted, it was that way until I reached 40 years into my life, but then all the rights that I had been using were slowly being dispatched. Then I got serious to find how my God given rights and my labor and my right to keep the fruits of my labor were taken away when we had such a wonderful document called the Constitution that was supposed to protect us. You all heard the story given by the courts and those in power that we couldn't have any state government if they didn't pay taxes, which is total fallacious. And I can elaborate on that. If you haven't seen the video Braveheart with Mel Gibson, I suggest you spend the $2 to rent it. It shows how kings rule other people, even kings to be. It is more than a movie. It shows the ends men will go to obtain power and their deceit in doing so, and that it is just and that is just what happened with the founding fathers. Oh, he didn't say fathers here. The founding finaglers. No, I did not misspell the quote. They were no different than Clinton, Nixon, Bush, Roosevelt, or Wilson in destroying our rights for the good of the corporate fiction. This is the new nobility. That's the titles of nobility as a corporation as well. This is the rule of necessity stated by the courts in Cohen's versus Virginia in 1821 that assures the state will not fail or will not fall. The state will not fall. This is due to the court's decision on Martin versus Hunter's licensee, Hunter's lessee in 1816 that the United States courts had the right to review any state's decision. Why? Because the states gave up sovereignty contrary to what you have been taught. Go back and read the Paddleford case. The principle comes to this, that the states, in making the Constitution, intend to give up the power of self-preservation. And next time we come at it, we'll be in chapter 15, dealing with the issue of consent. Okay, I do not consent.
Interesting, interesting.
Yeah,
Because just the word consent um, has, excuse me, has con in the start of it.
yeah,
Just
absolutely.
for
Yeah,
starters, yeah.
right. It may be the right word may actually be I do not assent, meaning to climb with you, to go up
Okay.
with this. Yeah. So, or to put up with this, maybe the way it means assent. Um, and then we can look in Black's Law Dictionary and sixth edition, and under the one word definition for authority, it's a one word definition: permission. That we have to give them permission, because it's why? Because they're in commerce. They're not in law. In other words, the only way somebody can lay their hands on you in the common law is if you've committed an unlawful act, which means you hurt somebody else. That's common law battery, or you stole somebody else's property. That's theft, or you broke your word or breached a contract. Those are the only three ways that somebody can come at you. But now in this phony matrix, they can come at you because your tail light is out. They can come at you in all different ways, and all they want is money. If you pay the money, you can walk. Okay, so it's not a common law crime. It's a statutory code, rules, and regulation that's in part of a game. It's a commerce game, and they want you to play along. But when you know the truth, and that's your sovereign, and they're all fiction, then you have all aces in your hand. But they're hoping that you're going to drop the ball and give them the authority by permission, um, and um, and play ball with them, play their game instead of you being separate and do not consenting. And so we have to use the word consent at the moment. So that's the way it goes. But anyway, so yeah, it's the world is being run by a bunch of racketeers and pirateers, and when you know the truth can separate you from them, and they will leave you alone because they want to mess with slaves. They don't like messing with independent, free thinking people. That's too much trouble for them. And then you'll infect the rest of the jailhouse when you're in the jail. You're telling everybody else the true nature of things. So you know, and they've always got their agents in there as well. Some of their people get arrested, and or they're in there just because they're wanting to infiltrate you, and so you always have to be careful in the jail who you talk to. Usually it's the guy they put in your cell that's there to infiltrate you. So that's a tip off right
Wow.
there.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I
hmm
just got to, yeah, I was just picturing that scenario. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Can I ask you a question while we're on that
yeah.
topic, if that's
All
okay?
right. Mm-hmm.
Um, when I don't know how to put it, when you went through that, did were you in a cell on your own, or were you with other people or one other person?
I didn't even have a cell for my first several months. I was sleeping under the eating room floor. It was what we call a pod, and there's an upper
Wow.
tier, lower tier. Then there's 16. There's eight cells and two in each cell, so you had 16 people bunking in these cells, and I was not even. They were overloaded, overpacked, and so I was on the floor under the TV literally. And so if you can imagine being in that environment
Wow.
like that with the echoing television and all that, and trying to, well, people want to put you away forever. And so, hey, that way, good to have you. And so,
Hey, that way.
uh,
How's it
yeah,
going? Yeah, sorry, please continue.
so I didn't even have a bunk, but once I finally got, and in the first pod they had out of the 16 people or more that were in there, 90% of them were put on me to. They were told by their attorneys if they do anything, to put words in my mouth or to disrupt my work, or one guy sabotaged my ability to use the phone. All of these things. Um, yeah, they couldn't book you because you wouldn't sign in at the desk. Obviously, that way he doesn't put his pen to the paper. So anyway, that's yeah. So then when I got a cell, then yeah, I know who the agents were. I saw them coming. Yep, that's absolutely. So then you just talk about stuff, but you don't
Yeah,
talk about your private dilemma. You don't talk about what your legal approach is or what you're going through. You don't let them know how you feel. You just talk about, like me, I talk about scriptures or
yeah.
life or whatever, and that
So
type of thing.
like, um, did you have to learn all of this, or um, did you know in your mind, how to deal with,
Yeah,
everything going on around you?
yeah. Well, to some degree, because I had been interviewing prior people who were students of law. I had interviewed people who fell victims to the system and got beaten up, and I
Yeah,
interviewed them, heard their stories. So I had all of that in me. Not to mention, I read all the ancient scriptures and all
yeah.
the ancient stories, and so I had all. And I just actually had just finished reading the book Sun Tzu, The Art of War, and it's a sequel by Thomas Clearly, the sequel to The Art of War. And so literally, I had a quality and a makeup, that allowed me to end up, where they I wore them down while they were trying to wear me down. I
Okay.
wore them down, and so
Yeah.
in the end, I come out of this with the longest case in West Virginia's history, a railroad state where they usually railroad you to prison in 6 months, and I come walking out the front door of the courthouse at the second trial after 26 months of torture, you know, and never went to prison, even though I got sentenced to life without mercy at the first trial, which would have been a death sentence if they had the death penalty in West Virginia. But the worst they can give you was life without mercy. So I got life without mercy, meaning they're going to have no mercy, and I was not coming out. And then they made a plea bargain offer, but I didn't. I refused to help the attorneys or talk with them. Only periodically to find out if they take a report of a crime. I wanted to report the conspiracy, and so when they had the after the first trial and I was condemned, they got up and they now the exculpatory evidence came forward that the good guys uh, presented to the court, that was not in the evidence file, that was all exculpatory in my favor. Um, then they made the prosecutor made a an offer, for a plea bargain, and the plea bargain was, and so I went to talk to the attorneys just to hear what it was. I just had to. I knew I wasn't going to plea bargain for the truth, and they said, well, and they said in our blah, blah, blah. Our statistics tell us that whenever they come back on a second trial, they come back stronger and they win. So they're already telling me, that there's no way you're ever going to beat this. Okay, and
Wow.
of course they failed to know who I served and what my
Yeah.
life was about.
Yeah.
And I said, so what's the plea bargain anyway? I'm just interested. I'm not here to plead or anything. Plead means beg, by the way. Plea means to beg. Get on your knees. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I wish you don't. Crying your pitiful, worthless hide off. I was willing to do the time. You have to be willing. And psychologically, I was good to go. For life without. I said, what is life without mercy? In prison. But anyway, so the plea bargain was that we are willing to give you, after they told me that they're going to win anyway. These are the attorneys that were supposedly, representing me. Said, well, they're offering you life with mercy. And I'm thinking, well, okay, so since the mafia hadn't had any mercy so far, I doubt that they were going to have any mercy later on. So thank you very much. I appreciate the offer, but no takers here. And of course, but I did, at that next trial, we the truth prevailed, and the Panhandle of West Virginia was so corrupt that Brooke County, that the judge was so fed up with this long drawn out scenario,
Yeah.
and totally fed up now, even with the prosecutor, that he went to Nebraska to have a jury pool picked selectively in Brooke County from Nebraska, so that it could not be tainted by criminals. And so literally, yeah, my jury pool on the second trial was picked from Nebraska. First one, the first one, somebody was quoted to say, "Why do we even need to delegate?" So that was somebody was quoted saying that. Why do we even need to go debate? Let's just, he's guilty, obviously, right? And so that was all stacked. It was all a stacked jury on the first one, and the second one actually, actually was not stacked, and but it was the senior investigator in the sheriff's department that actually had the best testimony about my situation, because the individual I had to shoot, he had also confronted in his own life, and he was actually threatened by the individual and questioned whether he could kick their ass, so to speak. That's the way
Wow.
he put it in his affidavit. And so I got the attorneys to bring him back on the stand last, because that what you hear last is that what you remember first. And so I said, you guys never. I was in the sheriff's jail, and I had him come back at lunchtime just before at the last day of the trial. And I said, now I know you guys are selling me out, because you never put Robbie Bone on the stand, and brought up the very things he said in his affidavit. And I said, so when I get back in that courtroom and I'm telling the judge that you guys are not serving me, and he says, okay, we'll do that, we'll do it. And so when we got in there, he put Robbie Bone on the stand, and he hit him up with all the questions. And didn't you say you were questioning, and they've just all those key words. And then the attorney walks over to me. Is there anything else you want me to ask him? I said, no, you did it. Thank you. And so literally at the very end, if I didn't move, if I didn't realize the one thing that they didn't do and get him to do it, I could have gone to prison. So I actually was instrumental at the very end within the effect that I was wanting, which was, of course, to be set free.
Yeah.
And so that's what ultimately happened. So yeah, it was, see, in the first trial, it was either guilty or not guilty. If you're guilty, you're going up the river forever. But in the second one, the judge made the whole laundry list: first degree, second degree, third degree, or involuntary. Involuntary is the minimum, and so involuntary meant you're only in 1 year in jail, 1 day shy of a felony. So literally, when the jury came back and they said, "Do you have a verdict?" They say, "Yeah, we find the defendant, Dezert-Owl, guilty of involuntary manslaughter." And when I heard that, I turned around and winked at Ruth, who I defended her life from violence by these criminals. Then I realized that I was out, because that was 1 year in jail, and I was already in there 26 months. So yeah, so that's how it played.
Okay.
That's how,
Okay. I see.
yeah.
Yeah, I get
So
it
it was a
now.
tough.
Yeah.
It was tough. Hmm.
Wow. Wow. So you
Yeah.
did
So
your
you
time and then you got the sentence for it at the end of the time that you did
Well, in other
do
words,
it. Yeah.
they owed me out of 26 months, they owed me 14 months of reparations. I never sued him or anything, but in technically, I was in there twice as long as I should have been. In other
Yeah.
words, the term
Yeah.
involuntary, it was a government sting operation. I
Yeah.
fell victim to a government sting operation, but the fact that they said it was involuntary manslaughter, I said, okay, I can accept that. I didn't volunteer for this. I had to defend somebody's life.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was okay. And one day shy of a felony. So even from a legal standpoint, if I wanted to, I could still own guns. And because once you have a felony, I think you're not supposed to be allowed in their statutory phony world to own guns and all that. So anyway, it was a tough deal, no matter how you look at it. But it's a learning process. I knew that from my experience that I would grow, and also that I would be able to help other people who are victims as well, to let them know, I've been there, and you can get
Yeah.
through it. My biggest statement to people who are going to prison is that the way out is through the way in. You have to go inward. You have to go inside, because if you're a spiritual creature, if you recognize it, then you know that life is testing you. And so the way to get the way out is by going in, okay, inside yourself, because there's the miracles can happen any moment, any day of the week. It's not impossible for Yeshua. What life is trying to do is get our attention. It's trying to wake us up.
Wow.
Slap us in the face. It's a hard reality that we have,
Yeah.
in this. Yeah,
Yeah. And like it's so simple when you say it, the way out is the way in. It's so simple and it makes sense, makes perfect sense, but the hard part is actually doing it um, in this
yeah,
in this world. Yeah.
yeah. It's a practice. It's a practice of spirit, where we have to practice. It's interesting. The word, practice almost sounds like pretend. Like, when are they going to stop practicing and get it right? Like the
Wow.
doctors. They're all
Wow.
practicing. Yeah,
Oh, I was just
they're pretending.
thinking. Sorry, I was just thinking back to just all the mundane jobs that I've had. um, that's like for example, just working in a shop, like, or in a fast food restaurant.
Hmm.
Yeah, your training is practice, 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 repeat, repeat, repeat. You do
Hmm.
little role plays on how to
Hmm.
serve customers the right way, and yeah, yeah, it's all pretend practice.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sorry,
yeah.
please continue.
That's all right. So look, why don't we go to a break, and then when we come back, we'll do symbols, and we'll close out with Old Testament, New Testament light. Okay, we'll do. I've got a symbolism. We're going to read about the columns. That's a
Okay.
good read, and the columns are what they hid from us in our King James version. They just called them idols, but they were the columns. And Fenton got it right in his transliteration of the scriptures. So okay, so let's do that, and we'll be right back, Ninja. And you can tell people, of course, also how they, when we come back, how they can get our information. Okay.
Okay, we'll do. I'm going to put the cat and
Thank
the
you.
owl one on again because it's so cute. So,
All right.
okay, we'll be back after the break, guys. We won't be long. Okay, welcome back. You're listening to the Forbidden History Chronicles with NinjaCat 111 and Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series YouTube channel, and also Forbidden History Live, and also a new channel, um, Farah Fenton. Always get the words mixed up here. Farah Fenton Daily Bible Read. Is that it? Is that the title of the channel, Desert? I apologise. Daily Bible Read. And also, you can hear him on the Cosmic Essence, which is also a new channel. I'm just going to let this clip run through because it's got some of Desert's dictionary up on the screen. Um, and thank you, Crystal. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool as well. Um, yeah, where was I going? PDFs. If you're new to this, and you want to know more, there are PDFs available. Um, we also accept donations. Any size donation would be very handy. We don't have any sponsors or anything like that. We just do this because we want to and need to share this information. Um, and yeah, this is what we love to do. And anyway, if you can't afford to donate and you would like the PDFs, we will get them to you anyway. There are 3 PDFs available. There's the original Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary, written by Dezert-Owl. It's absolutely beautiful. I fell in love with it. The first page, it's absolutely beautiful. There's also a sample of the original gospel with a more up-to-date version of the dictionary at the back of it, and also the Book of Wisdom, which is a great read. I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's my go-to book. Most of you guys are on the other side of the planet, and yeah, I find myself going to that book just when I need help through the day. If I can't speak to any of you guys because you're on the other side of the planet and you're sleeping, it's your bedtime. Yeah, and if I'm struggling, I go to that book, and it doesn't matter where I open it up. There's always good advice or the right answer, and yeah, it helps. It helps a lot. It's a very good book. And I'd like to. Oh, all the information is in the description on every one of these live streams. Contact details, phone numbers, emails, the details where you can donate, and get copies of the PDFs. It's all there in the description. Um, and Desert, would you like to say a bit more about the Book of Wisdom? Because you say it better.
Ever written. It was penned by the great uncle of Yeshua, Joseph of Arimathea, correctly Vole Shaphe of Ramtha, the uncle of Mariam, Mary, the uncle of Mary, and so it also reveals, therefore, the mindset and the quality of this royal family, But as far as what the Book of Wisdom says, it's an introduction to spirituality in a generic sense. It's not coming at it from the the aspect of the way the other letters or gospels were written, or the letters of Paul. Or it was totally a generic. It was written to the king Akbar of Britain by Joseph of Arimathea, because they needed to relocate there. They were banished by the Sanhedrin out of Jerusalem, and therefore they had to resettle, and they established the first settlement outside of Jerusalem of Christians in 3 years after Yeshua came back, when he rose from the dead. And so it just shows this is the deepest wisdom to help, and that's why we want to get it to people in prison, because it is the can opener, so to speak, of of unlocking the problems we have within ourselves within our modern time. It is the answer to unraveling the great mystery in a simple narrative that is only 22 chapters. And so this is the primer for spirituality for the people that have been sucked into the dilemma of the illusion of our world. So yeah, you can't say enough about it. You got to
Yeah.
read it. So any size donation, we get it to you, and we give half of the donation to Ninja for all of her effort and to help her to be relocated and set free from a very bad situation right now that she's stuck in. So
Thank
you're
you.
supporting the ministry, you're supporting Ninja, and you're supporting your psyche for the greatest adventure read of a lifetime. Okay, the Book of Wisdom.
Okay. Uh, Thank you.
I bet. All right.
Right. And what do you want to do now, Desert?
Do you,
The
well, I wanted to get
pillars? The two
well.
pillars?
Yeah, we're gonna do the two pillars. Do you by any chance have that dock on the bay? Remember, you got the one that the dock goes out into
Yeah.
infinity.
Yeah.
Let's look at something like that. That's really good for meditation while we're
Okay. I'll
doing
find
the
it.
read here.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're going to read about the two columns. As we've been doing on this broadcast series, we do symbolism because we have to read symbols, just like the dock of infinity. The dock creates a symbolic metaphor itself, as when you walk out onto the edge of the dock, it's the threshold of infinity, right? Because the horizon keeps on going, and but the fact that the dock is stopping is the illusion. Yeah, that's beautiful, absolutely beautiful picture. Look at those beautiful skies. I mean, they're better than what we see out our window,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
In many ways, the beautiful water, and that straight line of a dock. So okay, so two columns, and these are the twin towers represented. The two columns of the occult, the Jachin and Boaz of Freemasonry. The two columns being the sun and the moon. Okay, they're the two. In other words, a column is a support, and so the sun and moon are the primordial support of life on Earth. Without either the sun or the moon, you can't have life. Of course, it can't be defined by people who don't get the true metaphysics of our creation, and they think that it's just a plastic, creation, when clearly it's speaking of the highest wisdom and beauty of creation. And so it's rather tragic that they figured out one more way to divide us, Ninja. From
Yeah.
flat earthers
Yeah.
to geocentric. The solar system. Central. It's just I'm so grateful because Fenton clarifies that the Earth is a sphere, and I'm gonna write it all the different places down and show where he correctly defined it in the late 1800s as a sphere, and also that the sun is at the center, and all of life came out of the light. All of life. See, they can't say that. They can't say that if they're talking that the sun
Yeah.
is a little basketball that goes through the sky. How come you have winter conditions and we have summer conditions? They can't define the seasons. They can't define anything in this in their narrative on a flat Earth. Why does at the very center is it colder? The north, what they call the North Pole, right?
Yeah.
Why are there polar bears there and seals, and where ships couldn't get through? How could
Can
it be
I?
cold in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I have a question. Um,
All right.
I was thinking about this before, during Forbidden History Live. You were talking about the four
Directions.
directions. Thank you. You're talking about the four directions, and I couldn't help thinking of the four seasons: summer, autumn, winter, and spring.
Yeah.
Is is that all like connected? Am I seeing something there or nothing?
Well, the four seasons, the four is relative, but for certain areas, but like in Israel, or what we call the Levant, there on the eastern end of the Mediterranean, where the Phoenicians had their enclave, and the Philistines of what's called Palestine today. That they only have two seasons there. Okay, so they don't have four seasons. So
Okay.
everywhere is different based on its environment. So the four seasons are not directly connected with the four directions, what we call the four corners of the earth. Another way of saying it more correctly is the four directions. That's what that implies, because we
Okay.
know that the earth is not square either. It's not square, and therefore it's just a euphemism that is used to describe the four directions, the four corners. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm just asking for an audio check for you because your voice goes a little bit funny at the end of each sentence. So
I see.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Um,
I think I didn't. I had to. I mute out the Skype during the break because I noticed that noise seems to come through. I'm muted out on the YouTube. Or can we get an audio check, ladies and gentlemen? Are we Ninja? Give her a one scale of 1 to 10, and give me a scale of 1 to 10. Can
you're
you?
sounding
Anybody out there?
okay at the moment. Maybe it was just a little temporary gremlin
All
thingy.
right, starting to buffer. All right, starting to buffer. All
Okay,
right.
it's green here, so
Okay, thank you, Linda. All right. Well, we'll give it a shot. We'll do this one thing on the columns, and then perhaps we'll just call it a wrap for today.
okay,
And all right.
okay. We'll
So
see how we go.
so
Yeah.
the two columns. Okay, the two columns. The single column pertains to the cosmic group of symbols representing the world axis, such as tree, the ladder, the sacrificial stake, the mast, the cross. But also, it may have a merely endopathic sense deriving from its vertical nature, implying an upward impulse of self affirmation. Of course, there is a phallic implication as well. For this reason, the ancients ascribed a column and a dolphin to crests as emblems of love and the sea, respectively. The isolated column is, in short, as closely related to the symbolic tree as to the ritual erection of the megalithic stone or menhir. In allegories, the graphic symbols there are nearly always two columns, not one. There you go, because it's about the sun and the moon, both spectrums,
Yeah.
beginning and end, light and darkness. Okay, when they are situated on either side of a shield, they are equivalent to supporters, representing the balanced tension of opposing forces. They have a similar significance when they act as the supports of a lintel. The lintel would be the beam above a doorway, so to speak. That would be the lintel. The columns are supporting it. In a cosmic sense, the two pillars or columns are symbolic of eternal stability, and the space between them is the entrance to eternity, and that's why they pass their children through the fire, or through between the columns, which was the altar. The altar is in between, and they pass them through the fire, or they have ritual sacrifice there. That's because it's the doorway. It's a stargate, metaphorical stargate. They also allude to Solomon's temple, the image of the absolute, and the essential principle of building. Variants of this symbol, or rather of its significance, are to be found in esoteric thought. Nearly all of them are the result of applying the symbol of the number two to the dual columns, taking them as separate symbols. The two units making the number two are different in kind. For the first unit, corresponds to the masculine affirmative, and the evolutive principle, whereas the second represents the feminine, negative, passive, or involutive. It is for this reason that the Saunier gives the particular significance of the two columns rising at the entrance to the temples as that of evolution and involution, or of the perfection and of the corruption, the good and evil, comparable with the tree of life, which is represented as the sun, and the tree of death represented as the moon, or knowledge in the garden of the atom, in the light, the flowing light. The occasion, this abstract, on occasion, this abstract duality goes hand in hand with the physical duality of the material. Thus, the legendary temple Hercules at Tyr, also known as Zor, one of the columns was made of gold and the other semi-precious stone. In Hebrew tradition, the two columns are known as mercy and severity, two opposites. Then, right?
Does it?
Thank you for that. Yeah.
It's just gone
Well,
red. Just letting you know.
that's all right, but it's
Yeah.
still it'll still stream
Yeah.
if it's red. Okay,
Yeah.
just we'll know if it buffers out. We're still good.
Okay.
Um, okay, so to return now, and thank you that way for the number count. Okay, to return now to this single column, we cannot fail to see in a projection of or an analogous correspondence with the spinal column. The same kind of correspondence is to be seen in all forms of bilateral symmetry in art, as well as in such organisms of the human body as the kidneys or the lungs. The vertebral column may be equated also with the world axis in the same way as the skull image is equated with the sky within the general relationship of the microcosm and the macrocosm. And so what it was referring to with the skull is that the head is above the body, so the body is in the lower realm, and the head represents the higher realm or the etheric. And thank you, Crystal. And so the skull. That's interesting because Yeshua was crucified at the base of the skull.
Wow.
We always thought he was on top of the mountain, but he's actually on the road of Calvary, which went right in front of the skull. And people can see it today if they look up Ron Wyatt's discovery of the Ark of the Covenant and the place where Yeshua was crucified. And so the skull is right there, and the skull, as it implies here, implies of the sky, but also a skull means to steer. That's why your head turns, right? Your skull turns, and that's why in the beginning, when they used to use small little boats in the water, then they would use one oar in order to, to get it to move and to go forward. They call it sculling or steering.
Yes. I've
Yeah.
heard that. Yeah.
And that's why in the television series, The X-Files, Molnar,
Scully.
yeah, Scully. Well, Molnar, the guy, he's the one who always was meditating on as different aspects of topic. He's mulling it over. He's at the center of it, but Scully is the one who's steering the program. She figures it
Yes.
out. The woman's intuition, right?
Yes, I loved that show.
Yeah. I never watched it actually.
It was
I watched
it
one
was
or
when I
two
was
episodes.
researching the so-called
Yeah.
UFOs back then, back in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
would have loved to have time to watch it, but with what I was going through and doing, I didn't have the luxury of, doing the normal routine thing and getting soda and potato chips and watching that stuff. Time moved away from me. I mean, there were so many movies I wish I would have saw that had subliminal messaging in it,
Yeah.
and of course, X
Yeah.
Files was one of them.
Yeah.
X Files
Yeah.
was one to study, really.
Yeah, X-Files
Just like the
told us a
Stargate.
lot.
Yeah, just like
Yes.
Stargate. And so,
Mhm.
okay, so there's our two columns and the symbols, ladies and gentlemen. It's we have to get a book on symbols. There's several good ones out there. This one is a dictionary of symbols by Cirlot, Cirlot, originally done in Spain, translated into English. It's and this guy that did it was an artist, and he was also a Jesuit. So who would know more about symbols than a guy? And he's writing in code. So you got to be able to read between the lines and realize when he almost says something, but he didn't quite say it. And then then you got to. That's where your depth of insight has to come in, because he's saying it in code sometimes and not literal. And that's why reading all this stuff for me has been important because I am able then to see into it and to get the message that most people would not when they're reading on the surface. You know, it's a deep study, and so okay. So let's see here. How long have we been on, Ninja? It's 12 noon. We've been down just about 2 hours. Let's
Yeah.
do the Old Testament light, New Testament light, and we'll go. We'll wrap it up with these two last works of George Lamsa.
Okay.
And so, okay, so what did I have? Speech. I have speech. Okay, so and the Lord God, and this is Genesis 2:16, correctly, Ganesha 2:16, and it is, and the Lord God, which is the Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, commanded the Ashan, that's man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat. And what that literally means is you can do anything you want in the garden. That's what of any tree you may eat. You may do whatever you want in the garden. Have at it, because they were innocent, and obviously their motives would not have been to be destructive, but
Yeah.
the first motives of the first people would have been to enjoy the paradisia, the garden that was the lower garden that was given to them. But of course, the lower garden had the sting of death in it, and that's what their innocent little minds didn't quite fully appreciate. Even the guy with all the knowledge and the woman with no knowledge, neither one of them fully could wrap their mind around the state that they were in until finally they were bit by the sensual nature of it, which then gave them pleasure, but then at the same time opened them up, their minds up to recognize their state of death and that they were naked. And the symbolism of the fact that they were naked means that there's something else that we have to put on. And the thing that we have to put on symbolically through this nakedness is the great breath of the wind and fire, what we call classically the Holy Spirit. That's what we need. We are without the androgynous one, the one that wants to rule from within us, this lower realm. He wants to take over. And so we have to soul render, and so that he can he can live through us, and that's the great mystery as well, the incarnation of the higher life within us. Continuing here, and now Lamso is speaking, and all the Elohim's communications with Adam and Eve, Hadam and Keva, took place in a divine revelation or intuition. As long as Hadam and Keva were obedient before the Yahweh and perfect, there's that dirty word again, and perfect, they perceived every command of Yahweh. There was no there was no formal. Lamps is making a conjecture here that's not necessarily true, because he's saying there was no formal language at the early times as we have today. Well, that's true. I mean, obviously, but we're revealing it here. We are revealing what was breathed into Hadam, and it's possible to know, and it is what we talk about with the Indo-Germanic and the what's called the capital letters. What does the word cap means? It means the head. Capital letters means the head letters, the primary, the number one letters that define our universe are what we call capital letters, misnomered as the Phoenician alphabet because it predates the Phoenician, going all the way back to what was breathed into Hadam. Okay, so and all Eshavors, or words and tongues, were born out of earthly necessity in a gradual way, and that's true. That but yet they had breathed into them the foundation of this communicative essence. This is also true of the star navigators and the Ashan of Yahweh, who, after overcoming their physical weaknesses, communed with Yahweh by means of dreams and divine revelations. Yahweh spoke to Zavramhaim, Abraham, and to Eshayak, Isaac, to Yaakov, Jacob, and to Voleshaphe, Joseph, in dreams and visions, and actually face to face. At times, the Eshavors and the ideas were conveyed in a symbolic form. Adam and Eve, Hadam and Keva, could hear the inner voice speaking to them. Well, he also walked in the garden and met them face to face as well. And Lamsa is failing to acknowledge that. But then by guiding them and admonishing them, and that's the Old Testament light. And then we're now in the New Testament light, which is there is no New Testament. It is the everlasting Kevanun, everlasting
Oh,
covenant.
that's
The everlasting covenant.
beautiful.
Well, you've heard me say that
I
before, Ninja.
know, but I love hearing it all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, it is Kevanun. Kevanun. There's Eve, And
Yeah.
that means Eve at high noon, the virgin light
Yeah.
at high noon. There's cave of the virgin light. See how once we put these things back in order, we get all these additional pictures that we've
Yeah.
lost in these corrupted forms in modern time. Covenant versus cava noon, the cava noon, and yeah, the circle. So a cave typically, classically, is represented as a circle, and so it's also then implies the circle at high noon when we talk about cava, because what's the connection between a cave and the sun at high noon? Well, it's the circle. That's the representation of that. Which then also has an implication for the serpent creation as well. A cave is a serpent. It's a serpent body. You're walking in the body
Yeah.
of the serpent when you're walking
Yeah.
in the cave. Yeah. Okay. So let's go into the New Testament Light. We'll call it correctly as it's published by George Lamsa. And so we got the Queen of Sheba, and the Queen, which is correctly Shiva. Shiva. There's Shivaism that came out of India, and the fact that she visited him is a metaphorical a story of the fact that they were infiltrated by the ancient Aryan Brahmin Hindu, that Jerusalem was taken over by the occultists, and the switch out occurred. That's why Israel fell. That's why she was annihilated and no more. And then today we got a pseudo Israel claiming to be the legitimate descendants of Israel. Not, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. And so the Queen of Sheba, which would be correctly Eshavat in the primitive sense, Eshavat, the royal eye of the serpent. There's the royal eye of the serpent right there, Eshavat. So the Queen of the South will rise up in judgment. This is Matthew 12:42. The Queen of the South will rise up in focusing light, that's judgment, in focusing light with this generation, and will condemn it, for she came from the uttermost part of the earth to give ear, to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And you must see and read it for yourself, a greater than Solomon is here. Lamsa speaks. The Queen of the South refers to the Queen of Sheba. The term South is used because some of the territory of the Queen of Sheba was east of the Red Sea and in the southern Arabian Peninsula, which is south of Utah. And the Queen of Sheba, she also was ruling Ethiopia at the time as well. So on both sides of the pseudo-named Red Sea, which is really the Sea of Aqaba, is the Red Sea, the Sea of Blood, and the Sea of Aqaba means the oh geez, it's escaping me now. The will, the soul of will, the will of the graveyard of souls, for lack of a better word. My head is spinning right now with my transliterating, so I'll continue here. The Queen of Sheba came to King Solomon, having heard of his wisdom, and comprehending, she brought him costly presents so that she might sit at his feet and drink of his wisdom. A greater one than King Solomon there was, even Yeshua the Moeshiach, but no one paid attention to him or respecting his seed planting on the day of focusing light. That was 2,000 years ago, which is called the Judgment Day. But people have a different impression of what judgment means, the Judgment Day. Like
Yeah.
they think you're all going to stand in a line somewhere. That's not how it works. It's the judgment is that the great judge did the most profound thing in nature, and he said, I'm going to make you be your own judge. You be the judge, and you decide where you want to go. See? Free will. So the judgment is now. You have to make a decision about where you want to be and where you want to go. It's all in your hands, ladies and gentlemen. The great judge is set free from any finger pointing towards him, because you're the one who has everything to do with where you go. That's free will. They would so then backing up. And so no one paid attention to him or respecting his teaching. On the focusing day of light, the judgment day, they would be asked by the great Dolofim why they shunned and refused to honor Yeshua the Moeshiach, Jesus the Christ. But the Queen of Sheba would be commended for her pure act in making such a long journey to see the seed planter who was less great than even Yeshua. She would condemn the Pharisheim, the seducers, the Sadducees, and the scribes, the shofars, who belittled Yeshua and did not recognize him as the Moeshiach. Indeed, a star messenger or a great Ashan is more often more honored by alien peoples than by the people of his own land or community. It was hard for the Pharisheem and the seducers and scribes to recognize a poor Galilean peasant as the great Moeshiach, the savior of Israel. Well, it was hard because they were blinded by their corruption of modern day merchandising. They were merchants, and they were enslaved everyone, and they were occultists, and they were following the Babylonian Talmud for world domination. They weren't looking for a Messiah. They wanted nothing to do with it. They knew he was the Moeshiach, and would have none of it because business was good, babe, and don't disrupt our free enterprise program over here, slavery, okay? And so that's really what happened, Ninja. And a good read by Lamsa, and I see we've got 9 friends on here now. If anybody
Yes, we
wants to
do.
call in,
Yeah.
if anybody wants to call in, this is the time to do it. I don't know if they can call in on your Skype, Ninja, or they can.
Um,
Uh,
I wouldn't want to risk it
don't want to
yet.
risk it. Okay,
No.
we'll have to get somebody to do a test one of these days. But you can call in on my hotline. It's very hot. It's 3G right now. It's going to get hotter real soon. But in the meantime, it's 608 566 7295. 608 566 7295. And if you have any comments or questions, love to hear from you. If not, Ninja, I think then we can call it a wrap for today. I'm kind of spent out with our reading, and I don't want to get into the Babylonian Talmud right now. We never finished that read, but we'll pass on that for the moment, and we'll just call it a bad day on planet Earth.
Oh,
Well,
that's
every day's a
okay.
bad day on
Yeah,
planet Earth.
yeah.
Come on, people suffer.
I didn't even get a
People,
chance to have a lay down before
I
this
wanted to say
stream,
call it a
so
day. I
yeah,
say
I
call it a day, but
know.
I
I
have to
know
be
you were
honest.
searching for
It's a
something else.
bad day on planet Earth, where people are dying and
Yeah,
suffering and starving and
yeah,
being tortured to death by people that are having a party. They have a
yep,
party on our suffering, and that is the most despicable and disgusting thing that we could ever imagine. And the good news is that there is an end to their game, there is an end to their machinations, and there is an end to their party, and they're going back to the dirt that they belong to, where they came from, and okay, maybe we should do that. Babylonian Talmud. You want to do one more break? You got another song? You got something different?
Um, sorry, I'm just looking. Um,
You must have several. You have
I
several
know
different.
I've got all sorts of things here.
Right?
Desert, a very, very long list.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I'll go back up. How long a break do you want?
Uh, sorry, here I am
I
yawning
know,
on the
I know
program.
how you feel. Like,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
let's wrap it up. I'm struggling with my voice right now, and if the audience was still growing, I was motivated, but it looks like they dropped back off. So let's just go ahead and wrap it up. We're going to be on tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time with Forbidden History Live, and we're going to be doing part 2 on the evidence of the Masoretic text fraud that was given to us by the priesthood, the Egyptian text, which we call the Old Testament, especially in the King James and most of all the modern translations, and why who was Isaac in this scenario of becoming a sacrifice? Did he put himself on the altar on his own? Okay, did he put himself on the altar on his own? And so that we're going to show that he was not victim, but he was actually of mature age, and he was brought down, made himself a sacrifice, and we'll conclude with the book of Jasher. Well, we'll be reading Josephus to start, and we'll see where that goes. So, Ninja, thank you so much for your broadcast today, okay, and bringing it on.
that's
And we're back
okay.
on. We'll be back with you on Friday at uh, 10 a.m. Eastern Time on NinjaCat 111.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just before you go, um, thank you, by the way. Boost just arrived. Did you want to just have a quick look in the chat?
Okay. Yeshua. Yeshua. It comes out of the Babylonian Talmud. It means may his name be blotted out forever. It's a curse, but I get the question. The one and only Savior is Yeshua. Well, he's the true one. All the other cult traditions had false savior narratives, and that was defined by Clement as the law of syzygy, meaning that before the true savior would come, many false ones would come. Okay, and is there hell and heaven? Well, these are misnomers. Okay, it's about defining these words. Hell is the grave, and heaven is a code word for the sky, or for the sun, or for the cosmos, typically, and also other other thoughts as well. So these are code words, and is this Jeish and Israel evil? Are the I'm not familiar with what the Jeish is, so I'm sorry I can't respond to that. So we'll let that go for now, okay? And
Thank
there
you.
you go. We've got Forbidden History, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Ninja. So I'll let you go, and be safe out there, everyone. And Ninja, be well, and thank you so much for all your effort. Okay, and I know what you're going through.
Yeah,
Peace and
thank
light.
you. Peace and light to you too. I'm just glad we did it. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
We'll see you on the other side.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Okay. Love you. Okay, guys. I'm gonna end it here. I'm not gonna ramble on with it. I'm not good at ending the live stream. I never want to go. Um, yeah. So love you guys. Be safe out there. Peace and light to you always. And we'll see you on the next Forbidden History Live. And the next Forbidden History Chronicles is um, Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, US, which is midnight Eastern Standard Time, Aussie time. And I can't help it. So, thank you, Beast. I just saw your comment. Thank you. Nighttime, which is it's the middle of the night right now over here, is the only time I have my mind to myself, and giggling gets me through. I don't get to do it very much during the day. Um, okay, so I'll see you guys later. Yeah, prayers always, and be safe out there. See yous.